Hi, how are you? Let's talk about scripture. The scripture readings this weekend has been taken from the prophet Isaiah, from the letter to the Thessalonians, and from the Gospel of Matthew. And in them, Jesus is asking us to look into our own hypocrisy. So, our prayer for today is, Lord, deliver us from being hypocrites. Hypocrisy is easy to spot. It's easier than what we might think, because we just have to look for the inconsistencies. First of all, if Jesus asked us not to be hypocrites, it is because God is not a hypocrite. God, who is love, never hates. God, who is truth, never cheats or lies. God, who is life, never kills. Although they might see him that way in the Old Testament, but that's kind of a broader topic for another day. So God is consistent. His truths are consistent. And God asks each one of us to be consistent. Then why, if we are asked to be consistent, we become hypocrites? What motivates us to be hypocrites, to hypocrisy? What does that is to become faithful to other than God. Our affiliations, our passions, our loyalties, our parties, our ideologies, our sense of belonging and competence, we became fanatics. We have created a false sense of loyalty, where we understand that being loyal is defending and justifying all that we decided to be faithful to, even if it blinds us and hinders us to see a couple of truths. We are victims of manipulation, and there are many, many willing and trying hard to manipulate us all the time. They demand from us this God-like faithfulness, and they ask us to give it to them, and we fall for it many times. The classical term of idolatry, or the classical effort for anti-idolatry, was iconoclastic, right? 0 images, 0 pictures, 0 statues, everything will be okay. But to be idolatrous is not to have a picture. To be idolatrous is not to have an image or a statue. To be idolatrous, we don't need a photo, a painting, or a statue. We only need to see and to justify somebody or something as only we should see God. We're talking about the predominant modern idolatry that we're living right now, where we deify and we treat as gods individuals and institutions, giving them the perfection that they don't contain. In our society, this culture is predominant, accepted, encouraged. We have allocated a virtuous sense to this behavior, to this attitude. We support fandom, fanatics. We hear everyone at least say, I'm a fan. I even have said it. And if we're okay with it, then we also have merchandise that support it, right? If we're okay with it, then we have fallen victim of idolatry. Idolatry is more alive than ever today in our society. God forbid that someone criticize my candidate, my political party, my religious group, my favorite artist, my favorite team, or my favorite player. Worst of all, God forbid if someone criticizes my children, my family. It is our desire to be perfectly loyal to these imperfect institutions and individuals. And that desire to be perfectly loyal to what is imperfect is what is get us in trouble. This kind of loyalty is only owed to God. The consequences are very real and sadly very harmful. If we create loyalties to those who don't deserve it, we become responsible for creating divisions and conflicts with others. We are responsible of that. I am sure that we all have seen how it works in the world. We've seen it. We do ourselves violence when we go against our better instincts and the gifts that God gave us. The tricky part in all this is that we do see the good in what we follow, and we rejoice in that good that we see. But also, together with that, we try to justify the bad that transpires in order to feel good about ourselves and our ridiculous decision to affiliate ourselves in such a way with these individuals and institutions. We can even try to recruit others to our causes, our ideologies, our institutions, because that makes us feel affirmed that we made a good decision, that we weren't that foolish after all. We become inconsistent. We become hypocrites. We cannot love claiming to hate somebody. We cannot fight for the truth, lying and deceiving and manipulating. We cannot fight for life, wanting to punish and to oppress other life. Jesus was not afraid of the challenges and traps of the world. These include the Pharisees and the people faithful to King Herod. Because God is consistent. Those who are consistent in the truth of God are not afraid to tell the truth. And we all have learned from him our desire to be consistent as well. Consistency feels good. So, what did Jesus want to tell us when he said to the Pharisees, "Give therefore to Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God's"? Jesus is asking us, each one of us, not to get confused. Sometimes we switch the roles. We give the fidelity that we owe to God, to human institutions and to individuals, to persons. And then we treat God as an imperfect, unjust being, questioning and doubting him. How then we could live among institutions and imperfect people while being faithful to God? How we could avoid falling into the trap of idolatry? It's not that now we can not support and love our family, or that we cannot belong to political parties or other institutions, or support candidates, or belong to a religion, or liking artists or programs or athletes or teams, sport teams. What these really mean is that as long as we live and we abide by the rules of the world, that make us good citizens of this world, let us do it with a clear vision of what the world is, imperfect, and what God is, perfect. The vision should be preached to our young ones, to our kids, because the world is trying to preach them otherwise. What they watch in TV programs, in schools and media, calls them to idolatry, to fandom. Therefore, we should start with our children. Raising my nephews and nieces, for example, I would try to discourage them to be fans of anybody. If one of my nephews would like Superman, for example, I would buy them a t-shirt with the logo of Superman, for example, but never something with the hero's face on it or the artist that is playing the superhero on it. My idea was that I would buy them things that they may aspire to be as good as that superhero, but never to be a fan of a superhero, right? The same with my nieces. If my nieces love, for example, Wonder Woman, I would buy them a Wonder Woman t-shirt with the logo of Wonder Woman, that they may feel that they are the hero, not a fan of the heroine. So we should start small. That while we give the world what belongs to the world, we do it in supporting all that resembles to God. What is good and what is compassionate, what is loving, what is true, what gives life. That we do it by criticizing all that even we support, we know is imperfect. When they move away from what is consistent in God, that means that we should criticize all that we support when it's not true, when it's not loving, when it's not life-giving. In that, we show the consistency of God in this world. We go against idolatry. May God enlighten us and give us the strength, the wisdom to understand all this. It's not easy. And may God, the Lord, save us from being hypocrites. May God bless us all and let us be saints.